All right, everybody, welcome back to the AGDQ 10th anniversary broadcast, where we are now getting into Mega Man X2 after Luis had a fantastic Mega Man X1 run. So, without further ado, we are ready to go. So, Hetfield and Justin, if one of you want to give Luis the countdown, we'll get right into it.
All right, Luis, if you're ready, 10 seconds starting now. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and we are off and running for X2.
So first off, we see the infamous sacrifice of the green biker dude. He had the audacity to think that he was the main character and popped a wheelie and got ahead of X, and that's what happens when...
And he got owned.
That's what happens when you get too cocky.
The most killed... Yeah, the most killed character of the entire Mega Man X series right there.
Yeah, every time. He just never learned.
Alright, so a lot of things are different in X2 compared to X1. You notice that he's got the dash immediately, and this intro stage is very, very short compared to what you saw in X1, and there is no RNG in this stage. It's all execution. So it's a very, very fast-paced start compared to what you just saw in X1.
Yeah, and this is probably where it's most obvious on this fight. This was actually the first fight that people started doing it with the Doppler effect in between uncharged and charged shots, where you see him shooting the boss from far away. On this fight, it saves, even though it's such a fast fight, it saves 40 frames optimally.
Yeah, that strat he did there, called the CFO strat, where you start a dash shot and then you hold a charge. That's basically where all the strats where you saw in X1 when Penguin was derived from. And you'll see that in X3 as well.
So, right off the bat, probably the biggest difference between X1 and X2 any percent is that in X2 you're going to notice that Luis is now getting all of the upgrades instead of just the mandatory ones. Right there at the start of the stage, he got that heart tank. And the reason for this is because, well, in all three of the X games, if you get all of the upgrades, there's an Easter egg upgrade that you can get in one of the Fortress stages. Or X1, it's in Armadillo stage, but X1 has the Hadoken, X2 has the Shoryuken, and X3 has the Golden Armor. The Hadoken takes too long to get for it to be worth it, but in X2 it's quite worth getting in real-time speed runs. You lose all the time getting all those upgrades, but then you get the Shoryuken, which allows you to one or two shot every boss in the endgame. The first stage Luis is in here is Wire Sponge. The reason why you go here first in any percent is simply because you can get both of the heart and the E-tank in this stage without any upgrades necessary, and you need the grappling hook that you get from Wire Sponge to get the Buster upgrade in the next stage.
Okay, so the premise here with Sponge, you want to hit him with Dash Lemons until we get him down to right where he is right now, right at 10 health, and then we're waiting for Sponge to go up, but he looks like he's not going to cooperate. And that's just to skip this invincibility attack that Sponge is doing with the Rain Dance. Although he's shooting lightning bolts, but I call it Rain Dance.
Yeah. It's I believe a 9-second loss if you get that. And if he doesn't give you the RNG for it, if you're going for a PB attempt, you just reset here. That's another one of the nice things about this stage being first.
Or a race, where you just don't have time to wait for him to give you the good RNG. You take the 9 seconds to go.
Yeah. So the second stage in the route, Wheel Gator, you go here for two reasons, because the Buster upgrade is here, and the Buster upgrade in this game is amazing. In X1, you don't get it until the Fortress stage, but in X2, you need it right away, because it saves an insane amount of time on so many bosses. And Gator also happens to be weak to the strike chain, the grappling hook move.
Yeah, this is probably the most swaggiest stage early on in the game. For what little you have, you only have the strike chain. And then once you get the charge buster upgrade right here, you can actually charge your weapons, and you're going to see the charge chain get utilized quite a bit as well.
Yeah, there's a lot more movement tech with the upgrades that you get in X2 compared to X. That was kind of a sequence break that Luis did there to get the Buster upgrade that quickly. I believe that in order to get 100% of upgrades, the developers intended for you to revisit at least 2 stages in all 3 games. Well, in X2, you don't have to revisit any because you can just do exploits to get past them. Normally, you're supposed to have the air dash boots to get up there, but the precise jump with or without the strike chain makes it easier. You can just get the Buster upgrade. And as Justin said, this stage is one of the heaviest execution stages, and there's a lot of tech that you're doing with just the strike chain, both the charge and uncharged component.
Yeah, as you see, all those charge chains that Luis is doing, it actually pulls X way faster than the normal dash does, and that saves, seconds throughout the entire game because it's used in a lot more stages.
Yeah, the normal strike chain is about twice as fast, a little less, and the charge one is 3 times as fast.
So at the start of this fight, Luis actually inputs a buffered chain when the boss meter fills up. There's a little pause before the battle music starts, and he does that to start a chain, and he keeps charging for the charge chain since he's not at a pink charge. And then he lets go of the charge chain on the second hit at just the right time to keep Gator from sinking into the water there. There's a 5-frame window after you hit him with the strike chain, and that forces him to dive, but you can interrupt that with a precise shot, and then you can actually just one-cycle him just like that. If he dives, you're at the mercy of RNG because he will be shooting spin wheels, and then he will come back up.
Yeah, it wastes a ton of time if he submerges. If you're a newer runner starting out in this game, that Gator fight is pretty much like the main roadblock that you're going to be hitting to get the 5-frame window on every single hit to get the one cycle on him. But for experienced runners, once you know the visual cues and you have the timing down, it's pretty easy to get consistently.
So after you beat 2 Mavericks, you see those 3 X-Hunters teleporting onto the world map. You do not have to fight them to get the Shoryuken. That is only a requirement for 100% completion. So anytime that you enter a stage that contains an X-Hunter, if you clear that stage without defeating the X-Hunter, they actually teleport away, and at any percent, that actually saves you some time, because that actually saves on teleports until all 3 of them leave.
Yeah, there's been a number of different routes in Mega Man X2 for any percent, and that's one of the things that you have to take into consideration when you're trying to route a game like this is like how long those X-Hunters stay on that map screen.
Yeah.
A lot of other factors going into the routing as well, like the boss weaknesses, of course, like X1, and then the movement upgrades that you get.
Okay. So the stack fight here is really interesting. There's many different strats, and Luis is going for the fastest one possible. Ooh, and he's getting fireballs, which helps. There's actually a couple of bosses in this game that have an iframe reset mechanic, where if they do a specific attack, they have their iframes automatically cancel at a specific point, and you can actually get your damage in on them a lot faster. You'll see that with Overdrive Ostrich here in a couple stages.
So now, with Flame Stack out of the way, Luis has the Speed Burner. The uncharged version of it is mostly useless. It kind of just creates a lot of flame particles that lag the game, but the charged one gives you well, in this case, one air dash, but a second air dash when you have the dash boots, which, of course, saves time. throughout the stages because it makes you go a bit faster than normal dash speed, but it also lets you get certain upgrades.
Yeah. You'll see Luis use that charged speed burner here to try to get a very precise grab on the wall that leads to the sub-tank. And if you miss this particular burner right here, you have to wait for the block that you normally need to use to get up here.
Yeah, which loses about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So like the Storm Tornado weapon from X1, the Charged Strike Chain here deals damage per frame. And the mini-bosses in the 3 SNES X games do not have most of them, I think. And at least in X2 and X3 they don't. But yeah, so he just unleashed that charge chain, and it just dealt damage every frame. And with the proper positioning on it, he was able to just kill him in one hit.
And then the Raider Killer here goes down pretty easily with Burner. The way the weapon routing works in this stage, you're left with just one burner at the very end to do one last burner dash in this final hallway. And now, this is one of the biggest aspects of RNG in the run, is Centipede. We're hoping for an instant tailspin, and that will allow him to dash into the wall, which we don't get it right yet, but he might do it anyway. Yep, here it is. He's going to dash into the wall and slide down in such a manner that it throws the homing aspect of this tail spin, or the tail segments, off to where he's stuck in this move, and then Luis can just constantly swap between the strike chain, and since he has the charge buster upgrade, he can charge while on a weapon and then swap to buster and do the double neon shots.
Yeah, so the strike chain does 2 damage, which is weird that it's a weapon that's not Centipede's weakness, and it does 2 damage. That's pretty rare. Like, I think Blast Hornet is the only other boss who has something. But it does the same damage as the buster, but since you can fire it so early, since you have to wait for it to go out and back in before it finishes its time on screen, if you hit him at the tail end of that, you can spend all that time of the chain extending and contracting while charging. So you can alternate between 2 damage strike chains and the 4 damage buster shots, which is the fastest way to beat him. His weakness is Silk Shot, which Luis doesn't have yet, but it's pointless using that weapon because it forces him to teleport and waste time.
Yeah, the old strat was just hope he does tailspin, and you would just constantly just charge up neons and do the strike chain as well. But the tailspin glitch wasn't discovered until, how many years has it been now? Like 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, I think 4 or 5.
Yeah, so it was even worse. But we're moving on to Crystal Snail. Now that he's got the burner and chain, this is like the premiere stage to see all of the movement tech in action, because this stage has a lot of stopping and go, waiting for these large crystals to move out of the way so you can proceed.
Yeah, one of my favorite stages, movement-wise, for sure. You saw him go ahead to trigger that crystal to get it out of the way before going back to get the helmet upgrade. And that actually saves a second versus getting the helmet upgrade first. Even though it's a lot more movement, you spend a lot less time waiting. So it was actually something that didn't catch on for people to do until like a lot later in the game's speedrun history.
And having that last crystal move actually allows you to do an extra burner too, as you make your way up to the end here. So Luis is going to buffer a lemon and then follow up with the second neon shot, and then he's going to do a dash lemon for 2 damage while dodging the crystal shots that the snail is going to retaliate with. And then while he's stunned with the first magnet shot, you actually have time to charge it up, and then when he recovers, he's going to try to jump for his shell, and that allows you to do the charge magnet. And the magnet mound goes slow enough that you can keep it on top of Snail's hitbox constantly, and you can finish him off very, very quickly. The only RNG in that fight is the very end, whether Snail will either jump up or he'll go right to the shell from the ground.
Yeah, the charged magnet mine moves very slowly horizontally across the screen, but you can control its up and down direction. So you saw that Luis was like knocking him back with it and keeping it on top of him, and then he kicked the shell to manipulate Snail to jump backwards towards it so he could keep the shot on him even longer.
Okay, and another property of the speed burner that you saw there at the very start is that when you use the speed burner, as long as you're not in iframes already, it actually grants you invincibility while you're in the dash, and then you can actually cancel the burner by just turning around the opposite direction. And you'll see that property come into play a couple of times in there as well.
For those who kind of came into the run in the middle, maybe missed the start, could you explain again, like, why in an any percent run that they're getting like all the upgrades and all the?
Yeah, so the first 3 Mega Man X games all have Easter eggs towards the end of the game that you can only get if you have all of the upgrades. So X1 had the Hadoken, which one-shots bosses. X2 has the Shoryuken, which one-shots bosses. In X1, Luis didn't get it, the Hadoken, because it took too long to get. But in X2, the timing works out such that even though he's spending all of this time getting all these upgrades, he's going to save that much time and more later on once he gets the Shoryuken.
Okay, so for the ostrich fight, he's going to start with a Dash Lemon, and then just like Spark Mandrill, he's going to freeze him with the Crystal Hunter, and then he's going to fire another shot while he's frozen. And then when Ostrich breaks out of the Crystal Hunter, it forces him to jump into the air like you see here. And then at the very peak of Ostrich's jump, he actually has an iframe cancel, and that allows Luis to get double hit. I don't think we got to see much of it there, but you can actually do a Dash Lemon in the air while he's in the air, and then right after the iframe reset, while X is also in the air, you can quickly switch to Crystal Hunter and get a shot in, freeze him, and that actually just loops the fight.
Yeah, it does 5 damage with both of them combined, and you just hit him with another Crystal Hunter when he's on the ground. And just repeat that.
Okay, so now that we got the Sonic Slicer, we can actually go to Crab and take out the submarine here.
Yeah, similarly to X1, a lot of the boss routing in the game is based on mini-boss weaknesses. So you saw him just one-shot that giant fish. That giant fish is one of the most annoying enemies in the game if you leave it up. He has the searchlight that just causes stage-wide lag. And
it's so bad.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, so another mechanic of the slope jump actually gets magnified in this stage because of the water physics. It allows you to jump really high. So normally to get that E-Tank, you're either supposed to you can revisit with the Bubble Crab's own weapon and charge it, and that allows X to jump really high with the bubbles, like for buoyancy. And there's also an alternate strat, which you'll see on Counter Hunter 3, called a neon jump, where you, during an air dash, you fire a charge shot and jump on the same frame, and that allows X to get an additional jump. But we'll talk about more about the neon jump a little bit later. We're going to see if he gets the Gameo strat here. And looks like he gets it. Okay, he got it.
Yeah, really nice fight. So what he was doing there was, when you shoot the charged spin wheel, the core of the wheel actually stays on screen while the pedals are on screen. It's just invisible. So if you get good RNG from Crab, and if you position the charge wheel perfectly above him such that the bottom pedal hits him and then manipulates him to jump into the core that's still lingering, and you have to have it at just the right height so that Crab comes out of iframes just before the core despawns, and you get a double hit on him, and it allows you to save 1 second by reducing a hit.
Yeah, the trickier part of that fight is the second charged wheel positioning, because if you position that one a little too high, the core will actually disappear before Crab will jump into it. But if he doesn't give you the correct RNG, the fight is basically a crapshoot, where you just have to position the wheels on top of Crab and ensure that Crab constantly jumps so he doesn't move around erratically, because it gets pretty out of control if you don't get good RNG. So, now that X has full armor, there's actually a very unique mechanic in this game in X3, where if you actually have full armor, you actually get 50% reduction on all your weapon usage. So earlier in the run, where you saw him use the charge burner when he didn't have the full armor upgrade, it consumed 3 units of ammunition per use. And now that he has the full armor, if you pay attention really carefully, you're going to see that it's going to consume half that. It's going to consume on that usage there, it was 1. On the next usage, it'll be 2. Kind of balance out the numbers there. If you just have the helmet, you get a reduction on the charge weapon by like 1/3. But once you get the full armor, you get like extremely good weapon. What's the word I'm looking for? Efficiency, or so nice hellway there. Very difficult part of the stage is at the very end.
So here in the
sorry, go ahead, Hetfield.
Here in the moth fight, you're gonna see Luis take damage intentionally here. That's actually to get iframes to reduce lag, because X is only on screen every couple of frames. Other than that, you just saw him do 1 Doppler effect to get a quicker charge in order to bring him into his second phase before he starts spewing enough junk to create a lot of lag.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But with that, that's all of the Maverick stages down, and now we're going to see all of the mobility upgrades be at Luis's disposal in the Fortress stages. Unlike X1, there isn't really a massive difficulty spike in the run going from the 8 Mavericks to the Fortress stages, but there is...
Execution-wise, it really ramps up.
Yeah. Luckily, there's not much in the way of, like... it's not nearly as easy to die for Luis now that he has all of the armor and RT tanks, etc.
So yeah, this stage right here is a prime example of using most of the weapons in the entire game at your disposal. Ooh, nice kick.
Yeah, we just saw an interesting glitch there where Luis wasted his first neon shot, and then he shot the second one like while he was doing a wall kick on a left, or he was facing to the left, the wall's facing to the right, and it allowed him to do a reverse wall kick, which just kept him moving in the same direction, which is a very situational trick, but pretty neat to see.
Yeah, I think you use nearly every weapon in this stage, except for the spin wheel. I think every other weapon gets used at some capacity.
Yeah, we even saw some Crystal Hunter there. You can freeze enemies with it and jump off of them to save a few.
So, this fight in any percent is very, very free, although the lag can kind of slow you down, but in low percent, awful.
Yeah, in low percent, it's probably the hardest fight in the run. One of the 2 or 3 hardest, and then any percent is just the easiest. You just pop, charge, bubble shield, and stand next. Well, hope he gives you good RNG.
Yeah, Violin can actually jump in this fight. You just have to kind of watch for it. It doesn't happen too often, but that can delay delay the fight enough to where it can actually cause more lag later.
Here we're gonna see.
Oh, nice bubble.
See the elevator skip coming up. Very nice. Luis gets it easily. The elevator cycle spawns in such a way that you have just enough time, if you have really good movement, to catch it before it goes up. If you miss it, you lose about 20 seconds, which is kind of another trick like the Gator 1 cycle, where it, like, you'll just keep getting owned by it every time as a newer runner, but later on, once you become more experienced,
Okay,
top runners pretty much get it.
Gets the middle 2 turrets there. Ooh, but has a little trouble getting the other 2. So now, once these 4 turrets on Thurgase's Fortress go down, then it's just a matter of positioning yourself in just a way so that the Sonic Slicer that he just shoots gets double hits on him. The initial shot will just graze his face, but it doesn't like get absorbed into him where it'll despawn. And then each hit will do 5 damage apiece, and then you have to sneak in an extra 2 damage either with the Sonic Slicer like you just did, or you can actually use the Speed Burner normal shot, which has a wider range. But this is a big fight in any kind of high-level speedrun.
Yeah, I'd say overall, Neo Circus is the hardest fight in the run. Speedrun wise, just because the double hits are a fairly precise trick, and if you miss them, the fight can kind of just spiral out of control because the platform cycles end up being something different than what you want them to be.
Yeah. So, Counter Hunter 3, this is the stage where we get the Shoryuken, but we're going to talk about the Neon Jump for just a second, and you'll see it used right here if he gets the one. And now he's have to use the SMB3 platform chain. Alright, there we go. That allows you to actually make that jump without having to freeze an enemy. Now we're going to see top route. Very difficult part of the stage.
Yeah, really nice top route. Yeah, that Neon Jump that you saw, as Justin explained earlier, you air dash and then you want to fire the shot and jump on the same frame, because if you're air dashing and then you fire that pink charge shot, the game puts you on the ground for 1 frame, so you have that frame to jump. And the first one, since you're releasing the shot, you have to slide your thumb from button to button really quickly, and then the second one you're pressing the shot, so you have to press both buttons at the same time.
Yeah. So Agile here is very simple. As long as he doesn't go invincible at the very start, you can actually buffer a Shoryuken. What you do to do that, you actually buffer the D-pad input for the move as Agile's health fills. You want to start this about past half, and then you want to finish the input right at full health, and then as the fight starts, if you mash the shot, you have like, I think it's 19 frames to fire after the last D-pad input to get the Shoryu off. Something like that.
Yeah. And of course, it's really nice that as soon as you get the Shoryuken, the first boss you fight is just perfectly positioned to...
Yeah, kind of like a guinea pig, so to speak. And also, doing the buffered SRK prevents you from dying should you get the SRK off and Agile goes full immediately. That's the beauty about that, because normally before the buffered SRK was utilized, if he does that, you're just dead because you fall into the fight.
Yeah, the Shoryuken input is forward, down, forward, just like in the Street Fighter games. But because pressing dash twice in a row really quickly like that, for forward, it gives you a double tap dash, and you can't turn that off. So your Shoryuken input naturally makes you dash before you do it if you're not buffering it. So if you dash too far, you'll just fall right into the... like as you're coming down after the Shoryuken.
So now we're coming into probably one of the most critical points of the run, is the boss rush, and Luis is going to go for Icy Hot here. It's similar to the buffered SRK on Agile, but you have to buffer input a crystal, and then a swap immediately right as the fight starts. So I think Luis was too far away. You have to be in a specific spot to get the Icy Hot strat off.
might see, because Luis just had to use one of his E-tanks there. You need full health to use the
Yes.
Shoryuken. So if you take any damage, you can't use it anymore, and then the fight ends up taking, however long it normally takes, which is usually like 10 to 15 seconds for these fights, compared to 1 or 2 with the Shoryuken.
Yeah, and that's why the execution level of speedrun gets really high at the very end, because the run is so dependent on you not taking damage and also ensuring that you can get these kills very, very quickly. And as you see, if you take damage, you have to spend time refilling your health, and yeah, it gets out of control very, very.
He doesn't need a full E-tank. He needs just enough.
Yeah, just enough.
He takes 1 instance of damage. He can just fill back up to full, so he can get the Shoryuken again.
Oh, nice! The neon Shoryu, showing off some tricks. So yeah, if Luis didn't have full health there and he tried that, he would fire a neon shot. And the SRK actually overrides a neon shot, should you actually have one. Oh, okay, a very aggressive crab, but Luis caught on to it. Very scary refight.
Yeah, there's 2 fights where you need to be able to quickly react to what their pattern is. Sponge and Crab, both of them can jump at you, which is what you want, because it puts them in perfect position for a Shoryuken. But if they don't, you need to be able to react, and there Luis forced him to jump by going...
Okay, another big fight here, the 4-chain gator. So you can actually stun him for just 4 chains and then cancel into an SRK input. The weird thing about this room is that you cannot do an instant weapon cancel. You actually have to have one of the buttons held and then press the other one with at least 5 frames apart. So you're going to see runners. You won't be able to see it, but if you fight, you actually have to have one of the shoulder buttons held, or whatever button you use to swap a weapon held the entire time. And then when you're ready to SK, you have to hit the other one and then do an input.
And Snail here is one of the most finicky fights. Unfortunately, he just got bad RNG. Messed up the input a little there on the... So what you saw there, he Shoryukened him, but it didn't kill him. This is because of subpixels. The game positions X and everything else in the game at positions that are more precise than the pixels that you see. And when you're on the ground, you're actually not really just flat on the ground. You're somewhere floating in the air on that first pixel. And if you're high in that first pixel, then your Shoryuken won't connect long enough to do all the damage necessary to one-shot Snail. Which is what happened to Luis there. Shoryuken deals damage, I think every other frame. It deals, to most bosses, 16 on the first frame and then 8 on the subsequent damage frame.
Yeah, it deals 16 on when they're not in iframes, and then once they're in iframes, they take 8 per frame of contact. So it's not a true one-shot where like 1 frame of contact and they're dead, like the Hadouken and X. So that's why the positioning on some of these SRKs are so important, because you have to connect for like 5 frames, not just 1.
There, Luis just Shoryukened into the room to get him right in front of Zero in the cutscene, which will save him a little bit. Zero likes to block X's shots, but if you get right up next to him at the start of the fight, you can just hit him once and then hit him again as he dashes back. And it always takes 2 Shoryukens to beat Zero, because it's just too short to get hit by the full 3 instances of damage.
Yeah, his hitbox is too short.
Now, Wolverine Sigma, this is another finicky fight. There's a 1/8 chance that he'll just get owned by RNG. Luckily, it didn't happen. You want to do a wall jump there to bait Sigma to go to the center of the screen to teleport like that. But sometimes he won't do that. Sometimes he'll just start swiping his claw, and he's immune when he's swiping that claw. So
Yeah.
once he comes
No.
out of it, you take damage.
And easy virus kill.
Really nice.
And that was X2. So yeah, having the Shoryuken saves a whole lot of time, especially in these last few fights. Especially the virus fight, because the virus fight, he actually has double the HP than all the other bosses do.
Yep, it's
So
awesome.
That was great.
Yeah, that was a really good run. Blew past the first immense time from CGDQ, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and finish off the trifecta with X3. So we're gonna take a few minutes break, get the runners and commentators a chance to get up, stretch their legs, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stick around.